data privacy issues or challenges that he feels in his organization growing forward would need to tackle, and that would also benefit a lot of fintech partners who are looking into this journey. How should they tackle on these kind of challenges? What would be the top 2 or top 3 kind of challenge that comes to your mind, especially encountered in your growth journey on data privacy part?
First up, thanks for having me here, both FinTech Festival of India and the Thales Group. I'd like to take a step back and kind of set some context in terms of history as a FinTech player, as a FinTech lender, which is what Vivify is through its FlexPay product, addressing the underserved market and bringing credit access to millions of underserved Indians. I think we can break down the history of data privacy and data security, especially in the fintech context, into like 3 different phases. The initial phase is what I would call where there was a lack of everything, like lack of awareness of from the customer side on what is the power of the data they have, and a lack of respect from the business players for that data. So we were, if you look at the initial phase of fintech evolution, it was a take it or leave it. The fintech provider, anyone, was saying, hey, I need access to everything you do, all your data, and if you don't give me that access, you probably don't even download my app or don't even complete my loan application or anything. And essentially saying, I don't respect your data privacy or your data ownership. Only if you give me universal access to everything you do, I will be able to provide my service to you. And the customer also had that lack of awareness, like what is that he controlled? Because this is still like when you're talking 6-8 years ago, it's in the initial phases. People didn't truly realize or recognize the potential of that data and the right they have to the privacy, which incidentally in 2017 Supreme Court declared as a fundamental right, a right to privacy. So that was the initial phase where business goals and opportunities drove the privacy and the data security debate, and where the customer essentially lacked any right to it to a certain degree.
Absolutely, and I think to add on that, it was the P.S. Puttaswamy thing which happened with the Supreme Court judgment on making this as a fundamental right over any other right. And exactly in 2017 was this judgment came which changed the way Aadhaar was being used. And the Aadhaar ecosystem as such was being safeguarded against going all out on this usage and the number. Totally with you on that.
So the next phase, which we moved from like a business-centric phase to like a compliance-centric phase, which was driven by this judgment, and it was driven by fear of regulation and fear of reputation erosion. Like, okay, now suddenly RBI and every other regulator will now start to put rules. So the players started to kind of self-regulate themselves and try to make sure that we are taking consent and we are trying to make sure that the data is secure. The kind of respect some of customers' right to privacy, but it was coming from a fear standpoint. And also, if you are taking too much data, and especially in the digital lending places, there were a lot of illegal lending apps that mushroomed about a couple of years ago with harmful consequences for the eventual borrowers, because they just took the data, they didn't respect it, and the legitimate players were all coming from a place of fear and trying to make sure they have set processes and compliances in place that respect both privacy and security. But I think the phase that we are about to step into is the best phase of the business, that is where everybody is now recognizing the right to privacy and and who is the true owner of the data. The data principal is the true owner of the data, and someone like Anumati that Srikanth is heading are going to be the intermediaries who are just making sure that there is true consent. And consent is just not any consent, it's informed consent. It is, sometimes people just take like a universal consent and then proceed with it, and the limitations to consent, where you can use data, how much you can use it, who can use it, whether you can share this or not, all of that needs to be made aware to the consumer.
Absolutely.
And once you do that, here we are now moving to the consumer-centric focus in terms of handling data privacy and data security. And I think this is what will be sustainable. And as Srikanth rightly put, our regulator always has been ahead of time and has always provided us the infrastructure to work with, and account aggregator is one such framework which is going to be a game changer, never seen in the world before, and kind of strikes the right balance between the two extremes he pointed out earlier, and hopefully provides a platform on which we can build great fintech companies that solve important problems, but without compromising on customers' rights to privacy and security.